Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Chakwadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, Shalom, Yasharala, Shalom. All right, getting back into Acts chapter 12, or back into the books of Acts, and we are in chapter 12 now. So it's titled as Peter's, or subheading as Peter's arrest and deliverance. All right. So it says, now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church. What does it mean to vex? Let's get into it. All right. The word vex here. All right. It says to oppress, afflict, harm, maltreat, to embitter, render evil affected. All right. So that's basically what he was doing. He was persecuting the church, which is what in attempts to be by death. All right. Troublesome, injurious, pernicious, destructive, baneful. All right. Base, wrong, wicked. So we see what we're dealing with. So it says, now about that time, Herod the king. So which Herod are we dealing with? I got the wrong word. I got now. Let me back up. I got that time. Herod. All right. Meaning heroic. Okay. So it says the name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews in the times of the Messiah and the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of Antipater the Idumea, or of Idumea. All right. And we know that Antipater is an Edomite. But the key thing about Antipater is that, maybe Antipater, I'm not sure, but most definitely going down to his son, though, the key thing about him is that he was an Edomite, because clearly his father's an Edomite, Antipater of Idumea. He was an Edomite, but he looked like an Israelite, okay? All right, and that goes, her name might be down here somewhere, but there's a Hasmonean wife that he took, okay? Basically, the Hasmonean dynasty being those, coming from, Judas and his brethren, that dynasty that was established, the Hasmonean dynasty. Basically, Israelites, okay? So he had an Israelite wife, all right? So that child came out looking like an Israelite. But, Herod was definitely, he was an Edomite, though he had the Israelite look and appearance. So it says, Herod the Great was the son of Antipater of Idumea, appointed king of Judea BC 40 by the Roman Senate at the suggestion of Antony and with the consent of Octavian. He at length overcame the great opposition which the country made to him and took possession of the kingdom BC 37. And after the battle of Actium, he was confirmed by Octavian, whose favor he ever enjoyed. He was brave and skilled in war, learned and sagacious, but also extremely suspicious and cruel. Hence, he destroyed. Let's see what the word sagacious means. I read it all the time. I've gone into it before. It's not a word that I often remember. It's not like a word people use every day. Having or showing keen mental discernment and good judgment. All right, so good discernment and judgment, to say the least. So it says, but also extremely suspicious and cruel. Hence, he destroyed the entire royal family of Hasmoneans. Here's that right there, the Hasmoneans. Put to death many of the Jews that opposed his government, and proceeded to kill even his dearly beloved wife, Miriam, of the Hasmonean line. There you go, Miriam. All right, and his two sons she had borne him. So the Israelite wife and the two sons. All right, even though those sons were basically Edomites too. Okay, they probably also had the appearance of Israelites, but those sons were most definitely Edomites. But nonetheless, he put them to death as well. So it says, but these acts of bloodshed, and especially by his love and imitation of Roman customs and institutions, and by the burdensome taxes imposed upon his subjects, he so alienated the Jews that he was unable to regain their favor by his splendid restoration of the temple and other acts of munificence. And yeah, that was one of his major things, that renovation of the temple, which those Israelis still hump on today. Okay. He tried to gain favor by renovating the temple, but it didn't work. I'm pretty sure he got a couple people, a few probably, because you always have some simple jakes out there, but the majority of them, they weren't going for it. because you still, it's the taxes and everything else that you're doing. All right, those things don't go away because you renovated the temple. All right, but it was more so him trying to bring things and level things out. All right, I'm not going to change the taxes, but let me give them a little relief by bringing a little joy with this temple renovation. That was his thoughts, anyways, in a sense. So it says, he died in the 70th year of his age, the 37th year of his reign, the fourth before the Dionysian era. In his closing years, John the Baptist and the Messiah were born. All right, Matthew narrates that he commanded all the male children under 2 years old in Bethlehem to be slain. Yeah, you can get that in the beginning of Matthew. All right, I forget what chapter it is. It might be chapter 2, 3, 4, somewhere around there, if I'm correct. All right, but yeah, because it might even be Matthew chapter 2. All right, because I believe it deals deeply with Yahushua in that persecution time. All right, but yeah, going into that scripture, as we mentioned the other day, Rachel weeping for her children. All right, because that great, there was a mass death searching for baby Yahushua. This goes into what the church called the three wise men, but it never specifies three. What it specifies is gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And there could have been, 8 tons of gold. You might have needed 3 men to carry that alone. So what about the frankincense and myrrh? You need more men. All right. So there's never specified there was 3 wise men. It just specifies the items that they were bringing as gifts. Okay. Which were, if I'm correct, they were also Israelites, which is why Herod looked to them for prophecy about the star or the chariot or whatever, basically the sign of Yahushua to go find baby Yahushua to worship him, but really he wanted to put him to death. All right. So that's all we need to read it because it goes to more, you can read those other Herods on your own. So we're talking about Herod the Great, all right, the son of Antipater Idumea, which there's many Herods, but this is just the one, all right, directly under him. All right, this is the one we're dealing with right now, which is why we read that. So this is Herod the Great, they call him. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church. Actually, I'm sorry. I read the wrong one because this is afterwards. So let me go back because I want to say that was Herod Agrippa first that we're reading right here. Let me go back. Because that was Herod the Great around the time of Yahushua. He was going to death. Because you have to understand, Yahushua's ministry and everything. This is right after that, all right? The books of Acts is after those time period, okay? It's pretty much the same time period, but you know what I'm saying? What the events are after that. Let me see here. Okay. Here we go. Herod Agrippa first. Yeah, I was right. Okay, so lucky for that. Which I guess that was good. So read the rest of the Herods on your own. I was reading the wrong one. Okay, so Herod Agrippa first is the one we're dealing with. Yep. So it says he was the son of Aristobulus and Berenice and grandson of Herod the Great. All right, grandson of Herod the Great. Okay, you had Antipater Idumea, you had Herod the Great, and then you had other, in between. But the grandson, all right, of Herod the Great is Herod Agrippa the First. This is the one we're dealing with now. Okay, so it says, after various changes in fortune, he gained the favor of Caligula and Claudius to such a degree that he gradually obtained the government of all of Palestine. You see? So it says, with the title of king, he died at Caesarea, AD 44. All right, at the age of 54 in the 7th or the 4th reckoning from the extension of his dominions by Claudius, year of his reign, just after having ordered James the apostle, son of Zebedee, to be slain, and Peter to be cast in prison. All right. So now we'll, up to that speed right here. There's a scripture there. And upon a set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne and made an oration unto them. All right. So we're going to get into it now. All right. So verse 2 says, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. Now this is supposedly the first, I guess you could say Christian martyr, because Stephen wasn't, an apostle. He was a faithful believer. All right, obviously a disciple. All right. He was the first actual, he was a martyr, but in this general timeline, which is still not too far after that, but this general time period here, it begins really with James, the brother of John. All right. Talking about John the Revelator, that is. All right. James the elder is, I believe, what he was called. And then you have John the Revelator, in his own books that he wrote, known as the one who Yahweh Shah loved. No, if we can pull up anything on John. All right. James means supplanter because the Yahweh would be the name there. All right, in the Hebrew, which means supplanter. Son of Zebedee, an apostle and brother of the apostle John, commonly called James the Greater or Elder, slain by Herod. All right, Acts chapter 12. Okay. And maybe we'll just come with it'll be the quick hit lesson, and come out with how James was put to death. Okay. Because I didn't forget, I still have that book. I forgot what it's called, Martyr's Mirror. Okay, where you got all those accounts. It's a huge, thick book. And if we remember in the Spirit allows, we'll go and dig up James and see, what was his cause of death. All right. But yeah, it says, and he killed James, talking about Herod Agrippa the first. Right, killed James. Not saying he did it himself, but it was commanded of him. All right, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, all right, because we know we're really in a time period we still had wicked Israelites, obviously, all right, those that did not believe in Yahushua, all right, says he proceeded further to take Peter also, all right, because you have to understand the gospel was stirring up a lot of, you have faithful believers, but then you still have the non-believers amongst them, okay? So the teaching of the gospel was stirring up a lot of trouble, all right, from Judea all the way up, eventually to Rome. So it says, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. All right. So it gives you, some more general time periods here. All right. See what it reads. Okay. Yep. It'll say it straight out. Verse 3. When Herod saw how much this pleased the Jewish people, he also arrested Peter. This took place during the Passover celebration. Okay. And back in verse 1 says about the time King Herod Agrippa. All right, Agrippa the first. It may even say it in the AMP. I'm not sure. Sometimes the AMP would say those. There you go. You see, the AMP would say those names straight out. Now, at that time, Herod Agrippa the first, the king of the Jews, arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to harm them. And he had James, the brother of John, put to death with a sword. And when he saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to have Peter arrested as well. This was during the days of unleavened bread, the Passover week. So this is him basically gaining some steam behind the wicked Israelites. He was like, oh, damn, I didn't know they was going to, act like that over James. So me getting another one. All right. Let me, I don't know if he knew that Peter was the head of the church or whatever or not, but, the sights were set on Peter. All right. So verse 4 says, and when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers. All right, which a quaternion is 4 sets. These men that were set to guard Peter were 4 sets of 4. So there were 4 soldiers in this one set. There were 4 soldiers in the other set. There were 4 soldiers, 4 soldiers. So basically 16 soldiers to guard one man. And it sounds crazy, but you can have situations like that today, even today, where you have, you have a number of guards that, how they'll walk you, you'll be in the handcuffs, and then they'll have 2 guards behind you, and each got their hand on your forearm area where your bicep is, where your muscle is, grab your arm, walking you. Then you might have 2 sheriffs down there at the end and 2 down, so it's not far-fetched. But when you really dig deeper spiritually, you have to think about it. These men were teaching not only in the name of Yahweh Shah, but they were also performing miracles. So I'm not saying this is the case, but you have to think about it, knowing about the miracles and things of that nature. They might have thought, like, man, these dudes do magic, all right? In their eyes, these dudes do magic, man. We don't know what might happen. Let's put a lot of soldiers around him, just in case he does one of his magic tricks. That could have been also the case. Just speculating. Who knows? But they're not just going to set 16 men around this man for no reason. But also, another reason could be because they may think that, hey, some of those believers of his might rise up to try and take him back. So we want to make sure we have, some soldiers around him to stop that from happening. So there's different elements that you could factor in that could be possible reasons why they set so many soldiers around Peter. We don't know. We weren't back there around that time. The scriptures don't even specify that. You just, try to speculate and extrapolate. All right. But anyways, it says, and when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and deliver him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him. And we can pull up quaternions real quick. All right. Right here, a quaternion, okay, says a guard consisting of 4 soldiers. For among the Romans, this was the usual number of the guard to which the custody of captives and prisoners was entrusted. 2 soldiers were confined with the prisoner and 2 kept guard outside. So you had 2 soldiers actually locked up inside with them. And then you had 2 soldiers watching the gates, man. Said 4 quaternions of soldiers would be used to guard one all night, one for each of the 4 night watches. Yeah, because, you have 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night. All right. So you would have 3 hours each, 3, 6, 9, 12. All right. So each 4 would keep watch for 3 hours. Okay. So it really specifies it more. All right. So to break that down, so which what we mentioned before can still factor in, but when you talk about the watch now, because that's what it basically talks about, when you're going into, which we'll get into that in a second, all right. But yeah, these 16 soldiers, all right, were to keep a continual watch over one man, all right. So those things could still factor in. All right, like they might be thinking that maybe this man might do a trick and get out of here, or he might have some believers that come and try to break him out, or whatever. Who knows? All right, so they kept a continual watch over him by setting up 16 soldiers, the quaternions, 3 hours for each 4. All right, so there was no energy loss there. All right, because those 4 soldiers would keep watch 3 hours, then they will rotate the next soldiers 3 hours, the next 4 soldiers 3 hours, 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, because at one point there were actually 3 watches of the night. I believe it was with the Israelites that did that. 3 watches of the night, which would be 4 hours, 4, 8, 12. All right, but getting it from the Romans, it was broken down to 4 watches, 3, 6, 9, 12. So you can understand that. All right, it's not really complicated, not even really important, but when dealing with the scriptures, we want to bring out all the little different factors here. So it says 4 quaternions of soldiers will be used to guard one all night, one for each of the 4 night watches. All right. A quaternion or squad called a picket of 4 Roman soldiers, quaternion. All right. Because, like in Spanish, cuatro is 4. Cuatro is 4. Yeah, there you go. Tesser is 4. Okay, so we can go back. So it says 4 quaternions of soldiers. So 16 soldiers is what it's talking about, to keep him intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Now, Easter should not be there. We don't do Easter. The churches see Easter in the Bible and they have no understanding and they just run with Easter, right? You're not supposed to be doing Easter. What in the Bible where it says Easter should be Passover, all right? So many grown people, too grown to be running around talking about bunny rabbits laying eggs. And they say what? They do it for the kids. But the scripture tell you to train up a child. Now let the child tell you what to do. I let the child have you do holidays and things of that nature. No, you train up the child. I'm trying to get this thing acting janky. All right, Easter here. All right, Pascha or Pesach. All right. And there's the, not really Hebrew, Syrian Paschal sacrifice, which was accustomed to be offered for the people's deliverance of old from Egypt. That was when it was originally established, the Passover, and we kept that as one of the high holy days throughout all our history. It says the Paschal lamb, an example of the lamb the Israelites were accustomed to slay and eat on the 14th day of the month of Nisan, the first month of their year. And Yahushua did that for us now. He died as a sacrificial lamb, all right? So when he comes back to deliver those that sigh and cry for the abomination, the minister of the elect, all right? He's gonna act as that in a sense, okay? Because it's not gonna be like an exodus from Egypt. That's not what it's talking about. There's a new deliverance coming. But you get my point though. Bear with me because I got something converting in the back and it didn't go through. Some world news commentary. I hate when this thing does that. Bear with me. We'll run a second here. I'm gonna set it up again, see if it goes through. We'll get to upload it whenever. So it says, in memory of the day which their fathers preparing to depart from Egypt were bidden by the Most High to slay and eat a lamb, and to sprinkle their doorposts with its blood, that the destroying angel, seeing the blood, might pass over their dwellings. The Messiah crucified as is likened to the slain Paschal lamb. All right, which is what we just mentioned. So and we read it up right here in verse 3. the Passover, right? Actually, because we didn't read further down, verse 4. Yep, it'll say right here in the AMP. When he had seized Peter, he put him in prison, turning him over to 4 squads of soldiers of 4. All right, 4 squads of soldiers of 4. 4 squads of soldiers of 4, which is 16, each to guard him in rotation throughout the night. Basically everything we just talked about, planning after the Passover to bring him out before the people for execution. All right, so that's why I love how the AMP reads. All right, it will say certain things that are straight out, which is similar to what the NLT does. All right, but the NLT won't really always give those. It'll give up those names, man. Okay, this thing is acting. I want to go and convert. Looks like it's going to be a while before I get this uploaded. Bear with me 2 seconds here. Let me drop the quality and the resolution. I don't know why it does that. It didn't, whatever. Ease technology, right? So let's keep on with the lesson though. It's just aggravating me because I want to get this thing uploaded or get that video converted so I can upload that. But for now, you have this, when this gets uploaded. So, verse 4 again says, and when he had apprehended him, talking about Peter, put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter or after Passover to bring him forth to the people. All right. And it says, notice it says after Passover, because though there were wicked Israelites, them wicked individuals still kept the Passover because they were falling under the, because when Yahushua was alive, you had wicked Israelites who some of them saw the miracles Yahushua did and still went back and told what they were seeing. All right, to the wicked council, man, to the wicked Pharisees or whatever. So though they were wicked, they were still keeping the Passover. All right, but then you have the faithful believers who were also keeping the Passover. All right, so a violation of the Passover was going to be a major thing. So that's why it says after Passover to bring him forth to the people, because that's one of the most high holy days there. All right, Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto the Most High Forum of the faithful believers. All right, because there was a church established in Jerusalem. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers. All right, so we have a very small time skip here, right? Because it's only going to be 7 to 8 days in that time frame. So, a very small time skip here, because it says when Herod would have brought him forth, meaning to go ahead and forward with the execution after Passover. That same night, Peter was sleeping between. So at the very end of the Passover, basically, all right, this happened. Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, because remember there were 2 that were inside the lockup with him, and then 2 standing outside to guard the locked doors. Okay, the locked bars, gates, whatever. All right, the cell, in other words. Okay, and that was the 4. 2 inside, literally inside of the cell with them, 2 outside of the door. All right, so it says between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains. Okay, so Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains. So one probably had, we're talking modern day terms so you can understand it. You had a guard on this side, all right, a sheriff on the left side with a handcuff on his wrist and a handcuff on your wrist, on Peter's wrist. Then you had a sheriff on the right side with a handcuff on his wrist and that other handcuff to Peter's wrist. So that's how he was chained down to these soldiers, man. Right? Peter, if Peter had to use the restroom, he had to wake them up, all right, just so they can stand up too. It's crazy, man. Which it probably didn't happen. I'm just making a point to further drive the point home how he was chained down to these 2 men, man. And then you had 2 guards outside, of the cell, man. So this was a very heavy matter with the persecution of the church, beginning with James and then on to Peter. But Peter was delivered. It says, bound with 2 chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison. All right, the other 2 soldiers which made the 4. And behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and a light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him up. All right, so he, probably real hard to jolt him out of his sleep. Okay. It says, saying, arise up quickly, and his chains fell off from his hands. Okay, so those shackles. I was just using a modern day, you know, idea to get the picture into your head, which handcuffs, but the shackles. All right, just look at a slave movie. It's probably similar to that back then. All right, where they put the shackles on them. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's see what chain says. A chain, bond by which the body or any part of it, hands, feet, is bound. So it really doesn't. Uncertain derivation of there a fetter, a manacle. All right, fetter. Okay, so you see what we look. This guy here has similar to what I was talking about there. That shackle on his foot. Fetter, shackle to restrain, from motion to confine. So you pretty much see the gist of it. That's why he's look the modern day fetters, right? That's why I use that example. Handcuffs. That's the modern day fetter. All right. Nothing new under the sun. Manacle. Oh, I got the. Can't hear it because I got the do not disturb on. See, look, the modern day. You see? You see? Can't make it up, man. So, going back, since that point is made, small thing, but hey, arise up quickly, and his chains fell off from his hands. So the two soldiers inside the cell were left there with chains on their arms, or if you with the modern day version, two sheriffs were left there with handcuffs on their arms, and the chains or handcuffs fell off of Peter's arms. Okay, and the angel told him to rise up. Okay, get up, man. And the angel said unto him, gird thyself and bind on thy sandals. Now, when it says gird thyself, doesn't mean he was naked. More than likely, he just had his coat off of him. Okay, because he wouldn't. I mean, because that's just going off on the law, right? He definitely knew the law. He wouldn't be sleeping, naked between two grown ass men. All right, not even in his undergarments, however the undergarments were back then. But you get the point. So it says, and so he did. And he said unto him, cast thy garment about thee and follow me. Okay. So he just told him to put on, gird thyself. So what does it mean when it says cast thy garment? Let's see what the word garment goes into. Garments, an example, the cloak or mantle, and the tunic, the upper garment, the cloak or mantle. All right. Now, another thing that the scriptures talk about when it's dealing with the garment is also the truth. So this very well could have played a factor there. Because garment is talking about the clothes, the cloak, the mantle, or whatever, but garment is also, a mention when it's dealing with the truth, all right? Awake, awake, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments. I believe that's in Isaiah. Trying to remember what chapter it is. Somewhere in the 50s. Let me see if I can pull it out real quick. It's definitely verse 1, so that's what we're going to do. Check that real quick. Yep. Isaiah 52:1. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on what? Thy beautiful garments. And it wasn't talking about clothes. It was talking about this truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. O Jerusalem, the holy city, for henceforth there shall no more come unto thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. All right, but I just want to get that point. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments. All right, there's another one in Isaiah where it says, arise, shine, for thy light has come. Actually, we don't have to get that one, though. So let's go back to Acts, what were we, 12? I should have just bounced back. We're already good. We're here now. So check out what happens here. And Lord will, you've been edified. So it says, back to, verse 8. Acts chapter 12, verse 8. And the angel said unto him, gird thyself and bind on thy sandals. And so he did. And he said unto him, cast thy garment about thee and follow me. And I'm curious now, since I've see what this is here. Then the angel told him, get dressed and put on your sandals. And he did. Now put on your coat and follow me. The angel ordered. All right, so it says coat there. AMP. Let's see what it says here. The angel said to him, prepare yourself and strap on your sandals to get ready for whatever may happen. And he did so. Then the angel told him, put on your robe and follow me. See, but we know for a fact, Peter wasn't butt naked, man. That'd be going off in the law, man. He was not laying beside two grown men chained to them, butt naked, man. He clearly had clothes on. So what he probably put on was his cloak, his mantle, and threw on his sandals, man. But anyways, let's keep going. Actually, we want the KJV. Let me get back to the KJV. All right. So verse 9 says, and he went out and followed him. All right. Followed the angel, and wist not that it was true, which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision, because Peter knew the seriousness of his situation. He was set up with 16 soldiers, 4 to keep watch at different hours of the night. And he knew that he was about to be put to death. All right. As his persecution, he was going to be put to death, man. So that was the seriousness of Peter's situation from his eyes. All right. Now, but this is something, this account is important, because there's going to come a time where this is going to be a very valuable understanding of what the Lord is capable of, whether it be some divine intervention or an actual angel. Psalms 91. All right. Let's just get down here to the point. So it says, verse 10 and 11 says, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For here's the point in verse 11, for he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. And I believe I've gone to this word hands before. All right. Look, it says power, you see, in their hands, in their power. Okay. Because it says he shall give them angels charge over thee. All right. And all their power, they're going to guide or protect you. When it says what? To command, charge, what? Give orders, which is what happened to Peter. Get up, Peter. Let's go. All right. He gave him orders. Lay charge. All right. The hands, right? The power, in their power to protect. Because it talks about the hedge, like in Job. All right. The hedge of protection. Give charge to, or order, to lay charge upon. All right. Pretty much all the same there. To be commanded. As a matter of fact, since we mentioned that, let me go back here first, so we can just come back here. Let's type hedge. See if we can pull up hedge. All right. Has not thou made an hedge about him? Talking about Job. All right. And the word there, shawak. To hedge or fence up or about. To fence about, hedge up. And it's really talking about the Lord's protection. Here it is right here. All right. Shawak says to entwine. An example, shut in, for formation, protection, or restraint. Restraint from what? The evils of the world. All right. Protection from those things. You see? And the Lord's going to do that for his elect during the time period of Jacob's troubles, man. Now, those that are that become martyrs, it's meant for them to go through that. But for the remainder that are not to be martyrs, the angels will keep you through whatever situation you face. And even before those time periods, whether you be of the martyrs or of the non-martyrs, all right, you're going to face things in Jacob's trouble, all right, when you're being pilgrims on the earth, okay, where the Lord's going to deliver you from that. And it may very well be from an actual, angel appearing before you, all right. So it says, and he went out and followed him, Acts 12 and 9, and wist not that it was true, which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision, because he knew where he was and knew what the situation was. All right. And all of a sudden now he's walking out of it. And you got to, not only did the chains drop off of him from the 2 inside the cell, it's like, well, how did he get past the door that was locked with 2 soldiers outside of it? And they most definitely weren't asleep. They were awake. So the Lord, man, let me get that real quick. And I know it's not exactly dealing with this chapter here, but we're putting these things in here because to show you that things will happen in the time period that we're living in that are unexplainable, but it's to deliver us. And we're just going to get this straight to the point, all right? Where it says Yahweh shall lift up a standard against them. Let's get the word standard, because look what comes up for standard, man. To flee, escape, to take flight, to do what? Light it up, to disappear. Peter did both. He took flight and disappeared. The angel dropped the chains off of him. He opened the locked cell in front of the awakened soldiers without them hearing the lock unlock, seeing the gate open, seeing the angel or Peter walk past them and close the gate and lock it back. Because the 2 soldiers outside the cell are awake, man. But the Lord made Peter to disappear And he's going to do the same thing for some of you out there, man. All right? Where your situation got so sticky, the soldiers were right there, but they couldn't see you, man. See? To cause to disappear hide. It says again down at the bottom. So I want to make that point real quick, man. Because we got to have faith in these things, man. So it says, but Peter was, because he just got waking up out of his sleep. So you know how it is when you're just waking up, man. You ain't quite gotten to, you got your bearings, man. You're still kind of woozy from sleep, especially if you were dreaming. You don't know what's real or what's a dream. All right, when you startled out of your sleep, all right, you don't know what's reality and what's a dream. And that's what was going through Peter's head. He didn't think what was going on was reality, man, and it was. Acts 12 and 10, when they were past the first and the second ward, being what we just mentioned before, the watch, man, the quaternions of soldiers. Okay. See, guard, watch. Okay. Now also a ward could go into, the different, areas, the zones. All right. Like if you go into, a jailhouse, you got these, different hallways. It's set up like a maze for a reason. So if anyone ever attempts to escape or break free, for however that would happen, because it's damn near impossible. But if it happens, all right, it's set up like a maze. All right. These jails are intentionally set up like a maze, so you really don't know where you're going. Okay, but the guards do. Okay, so so you got to think about it. He probably also went through different floors or levels or rooms or whatever the case may be. But he didn't just pass by just those 4 soldiers. You have to have, he's in a jailhouse. So there's many other men, guards, all right, soldiers that are around who the Lord made him disappear from their sight, man. Doors had to be opened, things of that nature, possibly, right? Because some of them probably just corridors, but there were possibly doors as well. Okay, man, this thing it didn't convert again, man. Okay, now it's starting to piss me off. Bear with me. But yeah, you have to think about it, man. He's not just walking past those particular 4, where 2 of them were asleep anyways, but he has to get all the way outside of this particular little, we just say stronghold for lack of better words here. All right, so he had to pass by other men, okay, other soldiers. All right, but he was not being seen because the Lord made him what? To disappear. He lifted up a standard by sending that angel. So as we go back here, the guard, the watch, a watching, keeping watch, persons keeping watch, a guard, sentinels, all right, of the place where captives are kept, a prison, okay, which is exactly what we're reading about. And guards are set up to do that, okay. It says of the time of night during which guard was kept, okay. It says a watch, an example, a period of time during which part of the guard was on duty, and at the end which others relieved them. And Peter was put on a watch of 4 soldiers, man. Not 4 soldiers each, okay? Well, we'll say 4 as in, because it was 4 numbers in each of the 4 watches, all right? So he's had 4 sets of soldiers in 4 different watches, all right? I'm sorry, 4 different watches. I'm sorry, 3 different watches, 3 different watches, 3 hours each. So it says, as the earlier Greeks divided the night commonly into 3 parts, all right, which is 4, 8, and 12. So previous to the exile, the Israelites also had 3 watches in the night. Subsequently, however, after they became subject to the Romans, they adopted the Roman custom of dividing the night into 4 watches, which gives men more times, for rest, which an hour isn't much, but an hour could go a long way. All right. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to see. Man, what is up with this thing, man? Maybe if I drop the frame rate, this is just making it worse and worse. And, it's probably going to come out very fuzzy with this low resolution, but as long as the video gets uploaded, you don't have to necessarily see it. Man, let's keep going, because it's throwing me off from this lesson here, because it's taking so long when it get uploaded. It's clear it's going to be a while. So as we continue on with Acts chapter 12, verse 11 says, and when Peter was come to himself, all right, see, when he was come to himself, now he's realizing, like, wait a minute, I ain't dreaming. This ain't no trance like before dealing with Cornelius. I'm not in a dream, all right? I'm not actually seeing a vision, okay? This is happening in real time, okay? The Lord has lifted up a standard. It says, and now when Peter was come to himself, he said, now I know of a surety that that the Lord had sent his angel and had delivered me out of the hand of Herod, meaning talking about Herod Agrippa the first, and from all the expectation of the people of the Jews, because after the Passover, they were going to come to see Herod execute Peter like he did with James. And these were the wicked Israelites, obviously. So it says the 2/3 of those times. It says, and when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, all right, whose surname was Mark, all right, where many were gathered together praying, all right, John Mark, okay. I think he's mentioned with Barnabas and Saul there. So it says, whose surname is Mark, which I believe is the same, that John Mark is the same author of the book of Mark, okay. So it says, and as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a damsel came to hearken named Rhoda. And when she knew Peter's voice, all right, she opened not the gate for gladness, but ran in and told how Peter stood before the gate. So she knew that Peter, obviously, because these are all, the righteous, Israelites. All right. So they knew Peter was locked up. All right. He was taken away and locked up, and they wouldn't let him out. Okay. So she was like, no, this can't be. I know that's his voice. But wait a minute. So she, instead of opening the door, she ran, to another place inside the house. It says, and they said unto her, thou art mad. But let's get the word mad. All right. Thought she was crazy to be mad, to rave of one who speaks one who so speaks that he seems not to be in his right mind. You see, they thought she was tripping. All right. You miss Peter so much that you really think he's outside. All right. Trying to get in. All right. You're mad, lady. Okay. And that's what they said to her. Thou art mad. But she constantly affirmed that it was even so. So she probably went, doing the movies, she'll come to one person, grab on her clothes and, shaking. I tell you that he's outside. And then went to the next person. You got to believe me. And went to everybody in the room. It's probably what was happening there. Okay. You got to believe me. Peter's outside. I heard his voice. Peter. Okay. So then they said unto her, thou art mad. But she constantly affirmed that it was even so. Then said they, it is his angel, right? You must have heard his ghost, all right? You right? Or something. Something's up. I want to see what this says in the other versions here. For verse 15, you're out of your mind. They said when she insisted, they decided it must be his angel. So that's the NLT. Let's see what the AMP reads. It says they said to her, you are out of your mind, but she kept insisting that it was so. They kept saying it is his angel. So it reads pretty much the same thing. Now let's see what the NIV has for us. You're out of your mind. Same thing. Okay. So nothing different with those different versions there. So continuing on, verse 16 says, but Peter continued knocking. Okay. And Peter was probably, kind of nervous because he's like, I just had a prison break here, a jailbreak more so. Well, you get the point. And I'm knocking at this door and nobody's letting me in. So he's probably looking around like, oh, man, come on. Somebody's got to be here. You know how it is. All right, man, somebody's got to be here. Just boom, 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 boom. But Peter continued knocking. And when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished, right? Because you got to think about it. They're saying that, hey, you're tripping. You're mad, lady. You're just hearing his angel, and so on and so forth. But yet, at the same time, you're still hearing a knocking at the door. Like, hold on. We got to go see what this is now. All right, maybe she ain't tripping. But Peter continued knocking, and when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Why? But he, beckoning unto them with the hand to hold their peace, like, hey, chill. All right, I just broke out. The angels just came and broke me out of jail, man, because I'm pretty sure they were happy, man, ready to scream out. Okay, and that's, hey, if it's gonna be like that in Jacob's Trouble, man. All right, where you ain't gonna, you shouldn't, all right, be screaming out, all right, to a brother from across the field or, at the corner of this building because you see a brother that was in the truth, okay? Nah, man, because somebody might be looking for you, some soldiers or some wicked individuals who want to turn you into the soldiers, wherever it may be. Wherever it may be. All right, you want to hold your peace, all right, and keep your mind focused and knowing that you're in a time of period of persecution. So silence is going to be a key factor. It says, but he, beckoning unto them with the hand, all right, to hold their peace. All right. So he's probably doing the, how people are saying, shh, 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 and how how your hand goes up and down, but in the gesture, I'm probably talking because obviously they can't see me, but the keep it down, the hand gesture, keep silent hand gesture, like you're pushing something down with your hands up and down, going like that. All right, with the palms of your hands facing towards the floor, you're like, chill. All right, it says he declared unto them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. All right, by way of the angel. So he told him the account that just happened to him, and he said, "Go show these things unto James, and to the brethren." And he departed and went into another place. Now this is just to point that out. Okay. An apostle, son of Alphaeus, called the less James, half brother of the Messiah. All right, an unknown James, father of Apostle Judas. All right, so I just wanted to bring it up real quick just to show you that this ain't the James of the brother of John the Revelator, all right? Because we just mentioned him being the first one, all right, that was put to death. This is another James, all right, so you're not confused. Like, wait a minute, I thought he says James was put to death up above. He was. That was James the Greater, all right, the elder brother of John the Apostle, John the Revelator. This is a different James. So it says, "Go show these things unto James and to the brethren." And he departed and went into another place. All right. So he's like, the angel just broke me out of jail. When they find out I'm not there, all right, things is gonna be, all right, red alert, like the pretty much you get straight for it. All right, it's gonna be red alert out here. Okay, my notoriety level is gonna be up, like that one game, Assassin's Creed, right? Notoriety, all right, it's gonna be, it's gonna be some trouble out here. So let me go somewhere else, because if they come to look for me here, and I'm here, and y'all are here, they might take all of y'all too. So let me go elsewhere. That's probably what he was thinking. Now, as soon as it was day, there was no small stir among the soldiers, but there was no small stir among the soldiers what was become of Peter. In other words, all right, this thing became known throughout, the whole entire, place where he was held captive. There was no not knowing what just happened here. Everybody knew it. It says at dawn there was a great commotion among the soldiers about what happened to Peter. See? So it says, and when Herod had sought for him and found him not, he examined the keepers. So now he's questioning these soldiers, these 4 men. All right, probably all 16 of them, because there was they were all supposed to keep watch at 3 hours increments each. All right, throughout the night. So he probably set all 16 of these men down, all right, separately, to hear their side of the story, what happened. Okay, and obviously, at least 12 of those soldiers want to have absolutely nothing to say. All right, really all 16 of them, because who knows? Because the Lord pretty much made Peter disappear. So who knows what watch this happened? All right, under which 4 soldiers watch this happen. All right, so he has to question all 16 of them, and that's what he's doing right here. So it says he examined the keepers and commanded that they should be put to death. Okay, so when he found out that all the soldiers could pretty much told him a similar story. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened. We don't know how he got out. We don't know how the gate got open. We don't know how the chains fell off his arms. We don't know how he got out. Period. We don't know anything. We can't tell you anything. And so here's 16 men who were put to death because they couldn't give Herod a clear answer of what happened here, because they were all set up over Peter. It says, and he went down from Judea to Caesarea and there abode. All right. So it says, moving on, says the death of Herod. Says, and Herod was highly displeased with them of Tyre and Sidon, but they came with one accord to him, and having made Blastus, the king's chamberlain, their friend, desired peace, because their country was nourished by the king's country. Okay, so it says, and upon a set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne, and made an oration unto them. So he came up with a great speech, all right, before these people. And the people gave a shout, saying, it is the voice of a God and not of a man. This is what they said about Herod Agrippa I. Okay, which was going off, and that situation could be corrected, but it wasn't corrected. How so? Let's read on. It says, and immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, talking about Herod Agrippa I, because he gave not the glory, and not the Most High the glory. So instead of saying, no, I'm just a man, all right, and instead of giving that glory to the Most High power, Yahweh, he allowed the people to continue, probably because they probably didn't shout it once. They probably kept saying it over and over. This is the voice of a man and not a God. He's a God. He's a God. This is not the voice of a man. This is the voice that probably kept chanting or whatever. And instead of correcting the people, all right, the Lord put him to death. Check this out. It says, and immediately, all right, no time wasted, and the people gave a shout, saying, it is the voice of a God and not of a man. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not the Most High the glory, and he was eaten of worms and gave up the ghost. Okay, and I was looking into this, because what comes up when you go into this is the Indus worm, all right, which I'm not saying this was it, all right. It says eaten of worms, okay, disease, eaten of worms, maggots, all right. See if I can pull up anything else here. Okay, so let's do this. Check this out before we move. The brosco to eat, so we don't need that. So it says a derivative of G977, worm eaten, an example disease with maggots eating the worms. That was the same with brosco we just got there. All right, so here it is, Scolex. So this is what I did. It says a worm, specifically that kind which preys upon dead bodies, which is basically what? A maggot. Okay. Now, what I did is I looked up the Scolex here. I'd actually highlighted both of these words before. This is the Greek, so I guess this should put the same thing. The Scolex. Scolex, however it's pronounced. Okay. So it says, refers to a worm often used metaphorically in the Bible to denote decay, corruption, or insignificance. Okay. Look, you see, I see that purple there. You know, now to look into that. You see? See, it goes back to that. You see? Scolex. And it's supposed to come up as, I'm trying to see if I can find it, the Indus worm. Not saying it was the Indus worm, just saying that's what came up. Sperm is supposed to be like in the Indian, one of those Indian rivers. I forget what it was called. So I'm trying to find it here. All right, Scolex. Here it is. You see the Scolex, Indus worm, or the horrible Indian worm. In ancient Greek writings, was a supposed giant white carnivorous worm with a large pair of teeth that lived in the Indus River. Now, you may think that maybe that's far-fetched, which could be far-fetched. I mean, let's say there's a worm that's only found in Japan, but it's eating a man away from the inside out, way in Canada. Like, how is that possible? Well, when you think about it spiritually, anything's possible with the Lord. Okay? But anyways, let's pull this up, see if we can pull up the Indus worm here. All right, the Scolex, or Scolex, however you pronounce it, in ancient Greek writings was supposed a giant white carnivorous worm with a large pair of teeth that lived in the Indus River. Okay, so similar to what we're seeing here. I'm not saying this is the exact worm. Obviously, these are just, some of these are just drawn up pictures. Actually, most of all of them. So we don't know exactly. Devil fireworms. Wow. So I don't really know exactly what it looks like. Couldn't find one, but just give you a general thing about what we're talking about here. And it may not even been the Indus worm, but it was just interesting as I was, doing some more, some extra looking into on that. All right, what came up there. Only creature to inhabit the Indus. All right, the whatever that says, Cetaceus indica described the worm or Scolex as the only creature to inhabit the Indus. It resembled the worm which infested figs, what averaged 7 cubits or 10 feet in length. How is that? I mean, I guess it's possible. All right, kind of like a tapeworm. It says it had a pair of large teeth, one of the upper jaw and one of the lower. The teeth were square, measuring 1 pygon in the ancient Greek scale of length, about 15 inches long. It burrowed in the mud bottom by day and nocturnally devoured prey such as horses. No, this is just nonsense right here. That's why I stopped when it says 10 feet. Like, come on now. Okay. But then it made me think about this tapeworm, because tapeworms can get pretty long. But now, reading the rest of that, yeah, that's just some doggone nonsense right there. Look, the worm may have given rise to the legend of the horned creature, Donta Tyrannus of the Ganges, reported to have attacked Alexander the Great's troops. No, I don't know about all that. But we also, as we read recently in Second Maccabees, I want to say, was it chapter 9? A similar thing happened to uh, Antiochus IV Epimanes, where he was eaten by worms. And so you have another case of that here with Herod Agrippa the First. All right, so I mean, if you want to look into that some more yourself, not something too deep, not really even anything important, but it's just interesting what you can find when you look into even some of the insignificant things there. So let's finish this chapter off. It says, and immediately, the video converted, and immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not the Most High the glory, and he was eaten of worms, and gave up the ghost. But the word of the Most High grew and multiplied, right, under the faithful believers. All right, so more believers came to the truth. And Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem, when they had fulfilled their ministry. What was the ministry? We read, I believe it was like a couple chapters over before. All right, they were tasked with bringing the relief fund to the Israelites of Judea. Notice it said Judea because you have the areas of Judea. Then north of that, you will have Samaria. Then even further north, you will have Galilee. So Samaria was pretty much in the center, Galilee at the north. But this is all Judea, because you also have to remember now the account with Cornelius and his household were the first Gentiles to really be accepted. All right, and the Spirit fell upon. All right, but there wasn't a mass, influx of the Gentiles coming in just yet. So the relief was sent to all Judea and not to Samaria. All right, which can't say that for sure, but it's interesting how it does say all Judea, okay, and doesn't mention Samaria or even north of Galilee or whatever. And it's probably can't say it for sure, but probably because of the Gentiles. But nonetheless, to say, just to close off my point, Barnabas and Saul were tasked with bringing relief fund to the Jews of Judea, all over Judea, right? Because of the famine that we read that was prophesied about by Agabus when the Spirit came upon him. Okay, so and this could have been several trips, because this had to be obviously a very huge caravan that they were with, or they traveled back and forth to Jerusalem multiple times. Because you can put it this way, you can hit the major cities and then the surrounding cities around that. All right, that one particular major city could disperse to those the minor cities there, and then that means they would have to go back and fill up a new caravan to go and hit another major city, and that major city can disperse to all the more the surrounding towns around that. However it was, that was their mission. And as a matter of fact, when you go into ministry, all right, check what comes up here. It says service, ministering, especially of those who execute the commands of others. All right, and that's what happened. Barnabas and Saul were commanded to go and give, bring sustenance as a relief for the Jews of Judea because of the famine, right? So it says what? When you go down to the bottom here, it says the service of those who prepare and present food. And that is the ministry that is talking about here that was completed by Barnabas and Saul. Because once again, when you go back 2 chapters before this, that is the mission that they were set on. That was the ministry, not to preach, but to give relief, all right, to these Israelites that needed food. So it says, and Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem when they had fulfilled their ministry, and took with them John, whose surname was Mark, the same one we just read up above, John Mark, the one who is the author of the book of Mark. All right, so you see how all these things are pulling together here. There's a very intricate woven story, right? A lot is happening between Peter and Saul, but also you have Barnabas, and now you have John Mark jumping into the picture, which John Mark isn't really much heard about, but you see everything that's going on here. So that's pretty much the end of Acts chapter 10. It was actually a very straightforward chapter, but there were several things that you could point out and talk about, given the situations and things that were going on there. So that's that. Lord willing, you will edify. To that story, I'm going to say shalom. Lord, will you edify.